Each day across China, Muslims face west to pray towards Mecca, the birthplace of Islam. But this is no ordinary day. It marks the start of a countdown to the biggest annual religious gathering in the world. Pilgrims will travel thousands of kilometers on a single journey of faith. To take part in the ultimate act of devotion. A pilgrimage that takes 5 days to complete, but a lifetime to prepare for. The Hajj. China. Over 9 million square kilometers of diverse landscapes. The most populous country on earth. Its regions are as varied as its citizens. 56 ethnic groups. And 5 official religions. Muslims make up one of the smallest number of China's recognized faiths. But in a country this size, that's an incredible 20 million faithful. This is the story of 5 Chinese Muslims preparing for one of the most important events of their lives. A struggling taxi driver from Kashgar. A widow with dreams of going on a pilgrimage her husband was never able to. An Arabic language teacher living in a rapidly changing metropolis. A farmer and his wife from one of the poorest regions of China. Early Chinese Muslims traveled thousands of kilometers from the Middle Kingdom to the Middle East, over land. Their journeys across harsh worlds embody the resilience of their faith, allowing Islam to flourish in China for more than 1,000 years. Today, that same trip can be completed in just a day. But the preparations are just as intense. Around the world, Islamic associations are working to send millions to the Hajj. And for the last 6 months, China's Islamic Association headquarters in the capital Beijing has been processing 13,000 paper applications. In charge is Ma Xiubang.
工作很累，这个要在短短的1-20天，要把签证工作做完，要把这些哈吉从5个省市运往这个沙特。现在呢，截止到今天已经有7000多中国哈吉已经抵达了这个沙特的圣城麦加和麦地那。
41 planes have been specially chartered to transport them to Saudi Arabia. Leaving from China's capital in 4 of its most populous Muslim regions: Ningxia, Gansu, Yunnan, and Xinjiang. In the west of Xinjiang lies the city of Kashgar. Rosa Wupper is on his way to the city's 500-year-old mosque for his midday prayers. His devotion to his faith is strong, as is his commitment to his family.
كل ساعة 12 ساعات 15 ساعات إذا منطق أشدغ 6 can bolğan ekan Hem de kışlık buluttu, kışlık mevsimi, kışlık közü küremedi de hem de.
It's hard for Ruza to make ends meet, let alone save thousands of dollars for an epic journey to Mecca.
Kızgınlığına işgal intilip, ne çoktan bir intilip gelip, arzuyu masajat emek aşkalığımına intan fırsat bunun.
He's one of 3,200 pilgrims from Xinjiang, chosen to go on this year's Hajj. The remote Xinjiang province is closer to Kazakhstan than it is to Beijing. It is home to the country's largest Muslim population. Islam arrived here in the 7th century, when Arab caravans traded goods between China's ancient capitals and the Middle East along a route called the Silk Road. And this city was a hub along its path. The Hajj is an arduous journey that all Muslims who are able are required to perform at least once in their lives.
Bunun ben kısa şu net bir 10 yıldan bu yandan da özümün hissiyatınız mesela bir iş nes kılıp tamam arzu kılıp ben şu ticaretle şuğlanıp ticaretlerde işe yaxşı ünüm bilen mesela yaxşı ünüm bilen ticaretle yaxşı kılıp az dolayı bir hissiyat tabla bazı şaraitim yaxşı emdi hissiyatım evvel yaxşı boğalık şeyden mesela 60 mühim mesele boğalık şeyimizin dini itikadımızın şunun intilip şunmuş hazır şaraitin azı şekillendirdim.
Kashgar's main market is a melting pot of this region's Turkic and Oriental history. Ruza has come to see his boyhood friend and Hajj companion.
Assalamu alaikum. Qadrak avaldire, sidqma, salamatullah. Elhamdülillah. Şu her kadar capa atarsan ben razı olunga.
Capa dememiş kadar capa desem mi?
Ya capa rahat bana bu.
Torgapka biz şu işkimizden bölük mandığalığımız anlagan ekan, na işkimiz bak fırsat bolgan. Yakınlığım oldu işkimizden hadi bir yaxşı biz hem kişimiz bilen şoğulap hem de emden bulap hem karış bilen berip biz bizimizden yardımlarımız kılıp hem ila kılganımız dep na xuşallık his qilganmiz. Asas. Xuşallık his qilgan. Billi bağlılığımızı biz özümüz anlap ki na şu İkimiz tasdik çıkan ekan. Biz bunda xuşallık his qilib biz bunga
qanday qadrlashmasiz. Shumi? Bu tasdik kelgan bir fursatni, ha? Birisi hajimizning yaxshi to'liq muvaffaqiyat ado bo'lish uchun tashkilning ipini bir jumlasini to'g'ri degan.
To be eligible for Hajj, pilgrims must be Muslim, at least 18 years old, fit to travel, and financially stable, with at least 25,000 renminbi or $4,000 in savings. Here in China, being patriotic, law-abiding, and having proof of good character is also required. Once selected, pilgrims spend 1 month learning prayers, rituals, and the basics of international travel.
因为这个培训嘛非常重要，因为都没去过，朝觐怎么搞，这个伊斯兰教的在这里面也讲不清楚，只有去了那以后才能给他那个更好的搞这个朝觐活动。
For the Xinjiang organizers, safety in Mecca is a real concern.
为了防止在国外这个朝觐活动期间害怕我们这个人走失丢失，我们做了这么一个带团档案，这个里面包括每一个人的图片、姓名、身份证、护照号码等都做了详细的记录。
Ruza and his fellow pilgrims gather at the gates for the organizers to make their final tally. For an undertaking this immense, any detail missed could mean someone will not make it on the journey of a lifetime. Islam has a rich history in China. Since arriving in the 7th century, it has spanned 5 dynasties and witnessed over 1,000 years of change. But the practices of its faith remain the same. Islam spread from the Middle East and into central China, where it took root in one of the birthplaces of Chinese civilization. Ningxia province, home to the country's second largest Muslim population. Over 2.2 million Hui Muslims live here. Only their traditional headwear sets them apart as followers of Islam. It's an arid desert region and one of the poorest in China. Zhang Jianying and his wife are apple farmers from Tongsen County, 3 hours from the region's capital.
我们3千就是一年收的这庄稼哦，庄稼收掉，把别人的工资都出掉哦。
一天特别辛苦，又没收成，就是那个俺们就说呢，那个杀我他妈，有的人就把树都挖了。可是我们总觉得哎，树的很舍不得，也就继续把它要回来。
They endured years of hardship, bringing life to this desert to help them live their dream. It took the Zhangs nearly 10 years to save the 30,000 renminbi, or $5,000 needed for the Hajj.
心上一落落有年天哦，一落落有年天想抽进去就是钱不够。我们也个大了，把他们都成熟了哦，我们家里也开始小了，那就攒来2个钱啊，抽一抽钱。这就是我穆斯林的希望嘛哦。
Saving their money was just the first hurdle. Time was another. For 2 years, the Zhangs waited to find out if their application would be accepted.
突然一下停下来了，指标已经批了。哎呀，我确实感激的、高兴的哭了呢。实实在在说，高兴的哭了呢。没有去过，在前辈的时候就没有去过，就在我们这一辈实现了。
It is 4 days before departure, and Zhang Jianying is on his way to the local mosque for his final briefing. Their priest or imam explains the commitment it takes to achieve their goal of being Hajjis for the men or Hajjas for the women. The proud title Muslims who have completed the Hajj bear in front of their names.
既就有决心，肯定离开你的家庭，撇下你的私欲，面向探望贝通拉。所以这你内心呢，你要感觉到贝通拉黑的威力，真主的伟大。同时咱们念多少呢？真主啊， 调养7天7地的郑州啊。
More than just a personal pilgrimage, the Hajj is a global event.
世界上16亿穆斯林真是一家人。见了以后呢，虽然语言不同，这个肤色不同，服装不同，但是我们呢，这个互相亲热呢，信仰是相同的，古兰经是相同的，所以大家见了以后都很亲热。
最傻的对一些。
This is the couple's first trip outside China.
柔软，穿上舒坦，不重还轻。
我穿的是我出国的衣服。
这是中国的标志，也是宁夏的标志。
这个中国
宁夏的标志，
中国的意思了就。
哦，中国的。
这是我们是中国人嘛。
Zhang from rural China is illiterate.
我做个记号。
这大布我们后头就写名字。
我们看面这个后头写个名字嘛，做个换个啥记号，各家的名字能认得，可是不会写，就别人写上能认得。他别人给我们写上就认得了，俺都是现在马上就日子到了，现在我们可以拿了大包了。
The Zhang family gather for their final dinner. A hearty meal before the biggest journey of their lives. It will be physically demanding. Zhang's daughter is concerned about her father's high blood pressure.
就是担忧嘛，因为父母现在身体都不好。 所以就是今年必须就是让他们今年还可以嘛，所以就是去我们还比较放心一点，所以尽量的还是往好处想，因为去的人比较多嘛，去的人太多，他们都能互相照应。
你想他们吗？他们要走了。
爷爷奶奶走了，你想不想？想呢，你说出来点，想呢？
想呢。
想呢。
Over 1,000 kilometers to the south, the Yunnan Provincial Islamic Office has yet to receive their final departure date.
好，我们记住的具体呢，出发时间定我们跟我们个会话个。一天呢相当人多2天，随时问到。
Yunnan is a mountainous province at the foothills of the Himalayas. Just contacting remote villages here takes time. Bao Li Bin is concerned some pilgrims won't be able to mobilize quickly enough.
比较大的困难就是我们穆斯林分别在22个村庄，另外年龄偏大，去朝觐的人年龄一般都偏大一点，行李箱还有他们的衣服，由省上拿到州上，那么就由我们县医学的去州上去取回来，要把他们一个一个的送到家里面。包的稍微一有一点疏忽，把男女不管哪一个环节一出差错，男女的服装也就汇为一体，所以这个非常复杂。到现在今天21号还没有确定下来具体什么时间走，省上给我们的答复就是做好准备，一通知什么时间走就什么时间走。
Ma Shunqiang lives in one of the last remaining traditional Muslim communities in the province, the 600-year-old East Lotus Village. Home to less than 1,000 people, of which only 3 are going on the Hajj. Yunnan's Islamic population can trace their roots all the way back to the 13th century, when Islam was flourishing. Its influence and culture spread far from the Silk Road to all corners of the country through intermarriage. Ma is a widow. She lost her husband 8 years ago and now lives with her daughters and grandchildren.
我去了，你好好照顾来个，意思说，就这来点意思说，我可能照顾来好那领来，那个嘞，我帮着吃，正常，可惜。
Raising her 2 children with a meager income was a struggle.
之前没叔叔说，好像说是老过病啊，病时间嘛，相当于是说痛苦，因为经济各方面的意思说是日子的上也花费了些，说但是得癌症嘛。
Since his passing, Ma has but one burning desire: to perform the pilgrimage her husband was never able to go on.
他以前挺辛苦的嘛，以前还是挺辛苦的。我爸去得早嘛，干啥？去得早还是挺辛苦的。我们一直都希望他能够去一次，嘎，在晚年的时候，还是挺支持的，嘎。
Zhang Fang is Ma's eldest daughter. She owns this halal restaurant in the closest town, Dali.
这种我自己开的这个成功是吧？这种我们厨子方面就是给我妈妈修了，我们从小的时候，个妈妈就教我们做这些个，到宿舍了这几年呀，是有点自学，比如说像我们那么儿女了吧，就是觉得尽孝道是有些点个。
The sisters have used their hard-earned savings to fund their mother's pilgrimage. But money aside, at the back of their minds, they worry if this taxing journey is something their mother will be able to endure.
他以前最远的也就去到过昆明，要不然别处还没去过的，还是挺担心的啊，
14 times a week, Ma Xunqiang joins this Arabic class to learn the basics of the ancient language of Islam. At 53, it may be a struggle, but this is one hurdle she is determined to overcome.
每天早上上一次，晚上上一次，一天上2次课。因为是去买家的是全部用学这些个，我们等于说来学以后嘛，我们课嘛就开始会念啊哈，个上一些。
Arabic is the universal language of all Muslims. It unites a diverse community of believers through a deeper understanding of the teachings of the Prophet.
这不会第二次个，因为是经济也恼火个，你口子吃也是，他们特别像我们年纪口点们，再不口也是个，也是恼火，因为口到那边还是很艰苦呢。
The journey is not without danger. Stampedes, fire, and exhaustion during the Hajj have claimed 3,000 lives in the last 30 years.
回来回不来还在2考之间，到口到那些地方是。
The average age of Chinese pilgrims is 60, and the older the pilgrim, the greater the risks. In the capital, Beijing, the China Islamic Association Hajj office is struggling to confirm final departure details for the 13,000 pilgrims heading to Mecca, Saudi Arabia.
由于这个 沙特麦地那这个哈吉机场进行跑道的扩建还有维护，所以呢，今年呢，它这个机场的这个飞机的起降呢就受到了限制。
One Beijing pilgrim is eager to find out where his father's flight will land. 34-year-old Liu Yingzi is one of the 250,000 Muslims who call Beijing home. It's a rare opportunity for someone so young to go on the Hajj. His father, an imam, has also been chosen. They've not seen each other for over 6 months.
你讲个爹，我个爹。你们现在这阿联酋，你这个团，他还没有最终定去还是不去。反正他们现在正在努力，到这儿还没有信儿。他反正如果去的话，你准这个东西，你要是去都不用东西都不用准备，我在北京这边给你准备好，然后到那儿咱们都见就行。
China's capital, Beijing, is a mix of tradition and modernity, drawing people from all over China. Liu Yingzi came to take up a spiritual vocation, teaching Arabic at one of China's Islamic institutes. He and his students represent the future of Islam in China. These young imams or priests are keepers of the faith.
用阿拉伯语谈话，这是我们第一课要讲的这个内容。
After graduating, these men will be dispatched across the country to keep Islam strong in a modern China.
ما اسمك العربي؟ اسمي العربي محمد.
من أي بلد جئت؟
من أي بلد جئت؟
对 جئت ألف من أي بلد جئت؟
من أي بلد جئت؟
高兴点儿，待会儿见老师怎么说呀？最好给老师打招呼啊。
Liu wants his 3-year-old son to embrace the faith and has enrolled him in a private Muslim kindergarten.
就是这个幼儿园呢，它有很特殊的一点，它和这个其他的幼儿园一样，都有一些孩子的常规的课程，比如说英语啊、绘画呀，然后教孩子呢这个一些日常的一些游戏。但是呢，除此之外呢，他会教一些孩子的这个民族宗教方面的知识。你比如说教孩子怎么过开斋节呀，回族的风俗习惯呀，回族的小吃啊等等这方面的一些知识。
Trips to the supermarket are part of his son's Islamic schooling. Today he's learning the importance of halal food.
你像小孩他在北京这种生活环境呢，他接触的很少，所以呢，从小就带他过来啊，让他认认标识啊，买东西必须选一选。
Halal in Arabic means lawful or permitted. Consuming and living halal is a practice in the Islamic faith essential for acceptance into heaven.
你指一指清真标志在哪儿？它清真标志在哪儿呢？不是这个吧，在后边的吧？在哪儿？下边呢？哎，对。你拿好钱啊，待会儿你结账。
Liu wants to pass on to his son the basics of his faith to enable him to know how to balance religion with a modern life.
我从小接受的教育呢，父亲就希望，当然他不一定要求我一定从事这个纯宗教的行业，做阿訇啊或者这样，他做任何行业都可以，但他希望呢，就是我在宗教上是要有认识的，不要走这个偏离宗教的道路。那么我现在对我的孩子呢，也是这么希望的，我也现在也不能说规划他的人生，说将来一定让他做伊玛目或什么的。具体的将来从事什么呢？那我觉得他自己会有自己的选择。但是呢，我自己的非常美好的一个愿望呢，就是他无论从事什么，他都是要按照这个伊斯兰教的这方面的要求来做。
Liu and his group will leave tomorrow for the month-long Hajj. a pilgrimage he hopes will bring him closer to his faith. Each pilgrim is allowed only one 30-kilogram bag. Liu makes space for some medicine. Virus outbreaks are common in Mecca.
这是那个金嗓子喉宝，还有这个是感冒的康泰克，小去火的。
有治拉肚子的吗？
拉肚子的有吧？我看。
这就够了。
都给你放这里边，然后放在这儿，然后再想起什么来，然后再装再买呗。
In Yunnan, Bao Li Bin from the Islamic Association is giving the widow Ma Shunqiang her clothes for Mecca.
这是你家的我行李箱，俺们里面的工作这样的很悄悄，这是一中国还有纸，可能那边上呢一看见它一直的标志。
是。
好，我们路上这些没啊。
In Kashgar, the Xinjiang pilgrims are on the move. It's an emotional time for everyone. Relatives are worried they may not see their loved ones again.
Bunun bu dışarıya biz kütük gelgen bir naatenge uzundu ma beyne kütük gelgen fışıllık bu. Biz bu şu naatenge bir
arzu şu te.
Bakış kılımız bunu biz.
From this train station, Ruza Wupper and his group embark on the biggest journey of their lifetime. It begins with a 24-hour train ride to the region's capital, Urumqi. Dozens of charter flights are now leaving from all across China, carrying Chinese pilgrims 11 hours to the greatest annual religious gathering on earth. The Hajj. Mecca, the holiest city of Islam. Non-Muslims are forbidden entry to this city, but 2.5 million faithful make this journey every year. This is the spiritual center of the Islamic world. By coming here to perform the pilgrimage, they believe their faith will be strengthened. In the next 5 days, millions of pilgrims will be completing a series of prayers and rites along the valley of Mina. They begin in the plain of Arafat, then move on to the symbolic stoning of the devil in Jamarat. Finally, the exhausted pilgrims circle Islam's holiest site, the Kaaba, an 18-meter-high granite structure that houses the Black Stone, the unifying focal point of Islamic worship. It is day one of the Hajj. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims have now arrived in Saudi Arabia, including Liu Yingzi's father.
我这次能够和我父亲一起来朝觐，我想这个机会也非常难得，这当然更会增进我们父子之间的感情。
The Chinese pilgrims are housed in Mina camp, a sea of 200,000 air-conditioned tents. This will be their home for the next 5 days. They settle in and pray before tomorrow's first rite.
Bu orunuz kelgen intan xursand, intan xushal. Men baxtis qilaman. Cho'ng bir zo'r. Bunu tasavvur qilib bo'lmaganidek baxtis qilaman bu ishni. Bunaqa men bek so'yinaman. Xushalman o'zim.
Ma is now one step closer to performing the pilgrimage her late husband wasn't able to.
从家里边出来，也就是说是听家讲的是说是非常拥挤，非常害怕。当我从家里面出来，就抱着一个西瓜，我也不惧怕什么，只要是能够死在这个神圣的领土上，我觉得是值得的。我都明天到阿拉沙滩上，我祈祷阿拉给我给的允意，给我给的高兴。
But getting to Mecca is just the beginning. Tomorrow, they and the other 13,000 Chinese pilgrims will begin a series of religious rites that will change their lives forever. This is the second day of the Hajj. At the tented camp in Mina, the Chinese pilgrims are preparing for their trip to Mount Arafat. Ruza from Xinjiang takes a moment to pray.
كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم ربنا إنك حميد مجيد. İmana takbası Allah, kalbimizle, vücudumuzla Allah. Yaxşılıkla devam eyyem özürlen, aşk muhabbetiyle kalbimiz, vücudumuz zinnet versin Allah.
With average temperatures reaching 30 degrees Celsius, the pilgrims need as much water as possible. Ruza and the others travel 14 kilometers east of Mina to Arafat, the Mount of Mercy.
Ya bu esirmemiz, bunu biz hakikaten zaten baxt his qilamiz, yani xushallik deb bilamiz. Buni qanchaki japa bo'lsa, biz tabii shunchaki biz buni xushal his qilamiz buni. Japa demaymiz bu ishni.
This is a day of repentance. Ruza and his best friend have waited their entire lives for this moment. On the slopes of this granite hill, the pilgrims atone for their lifetime of sins. Each man and woman asks for forgiveness and absolution.
آمين آمين يا قاضي الحاجات يا حل المشكلات يا شافي الأمراض.
Partımızın yine ataydı neçe zamanın yağı biz arzu kılıp özümüz. Şundan neçe ucunun yağı mabeyinde şundan özümüz. Ya teşna olup neçe başka için öküzüp ya kilip ağzımız hecin salamet bir şey kılıp kılalığımız hemimiz fırsen. Kat fırsen boğalığımız ya canlı gidip bizim gibi boğal mübarekler tebrikler bizim. Bu işin iftuluk yalnız kabızın fırsenlik bilen Allah'a boğal ne sanayımız çeksiz bunun var. Tut bulanmayımız çeksiz hem sanayit mi Allah'a boğal.
The pilgrims now move out from Arafat to the plain of Muzdalifa, a gathering place where thousands will wait and rest.
Muzdalifa kelgenden keyin nahayeten ben fırsat buldum, hoş oldum. Biz hazır fakat müdafiyenimizde qaylaplab zade hemme tayyorlik qilib bitirib, bu tayyorlik fakat japa emas bizga, biz uchun. Buni rahat his qilamiz.
Ruza and the others picked the 49 pebbles they need for tomorrow's rite, the stoning of the devil. Throughout the night, pilgrims continue to pour into this one location. Exhausted and with no real space, they sleep wherever they can.